Am I the a-hole? Husband accused me of financial infidelity. Husband and I have been married for 10 years, together since college. Since starting out, we have made financial security a priority and have been able to achieve that, albeit with some good luck along the way. We both have good jobs, paying close to $200K each. Hey, yo, I gotta say, that's f***ing sick. Student loans were paid off within a few years. Both went to state schools with some scholarships, so didn't have a lot of debt to begin with. We live in a house I inherited from my grandmother, so no mortgage, and don't have any credit card debt. We max out our 401ks and currently have 18 months of expenses in our emergency fund and are still adding to it. Our cars are both paid off and should be good for another 5+ years. I love that. Like, this is how I want to live my life. This better be a look into me and my future wife, our life. We manage our finances in a hybrid manner. Joint accounts for bills and savings and separate accounts for our fun money. We each get a pretty generous monthly allotment. The fun money is strictly for our individual expenses, hobbies, clothes, outings with friends, etc. And not for things like date nights, vacations, or larger joint purchases like household appliances and repairs, which come out of our joint account. We also agree that if either of us gets any bonuses or has any side hustle income, those will go into our individual fund money accounts, unless the funds are needed for a larger expense, such as a major home repair. In terms of the fund money, my husband is much more of a spender than I am due to expensive hobbies, in particular golf and collecting sports memorabilia. And he's also more into designer clothes, which is fine. It's his fun money. On the other hand, my hobbies are a lot less expensive: running/working out, reading, and baking. In general, I'm more introverted, and a great time for me is tea with a friend at one of our homes with homemade pastries. I have also been getting back into gaming lately after setting it aside for much of the past decade while building my career. After realizing I had more than enough in my fun money account, I decided to overhaul my gaming setup and got myself a new PC, desk, and gaming chair. Total cost of about $5,000. However, upon hearing about the purchase, my husband is furious. He says he had no idea I had saved so much money and that I should have consulted him before spending $5,000. I asked what difference it made if it was from my own accrued fund money and not our joint funds, and he insisted that my accumulating this amount without telling him was a form of financial infidelity. He says he lost trust in me and doesn't know what else I might be hiding. He is demanding that I return the items I purchased and deposit most of the funds to our joint account. He wants to make a new rule that fund money accounts can't accumulate more than $2,000 and that any excess goes back to the joint account, a rule that would obviously favor him as a person who spends most of his allotment each month instead of saving up for anything bigger. I feel like I am being punished for being more of a day-to-day saver than a spender. It wouldn't occur to me to demand to know how much my husband has in his fund money account or to try to micromanage what he spends it on. I wasn't hiding anything deliberately. He never asked about it until after I made the purchases. Still, maybe I should have been more transparent about my plans. So am I the a-hole? Miscellaneous info. Husband and I each have our own office/hobby room in the house, so it's not like the gaming setup was going in a space he uses. I don't usually game when my husband is home unless he's already busy doing something else. My biggest block of gaming time is typically when he's off playing golf. Also, I run 40 to 50 miles a week, so it's not like I'm generally sedentary. I can't think of a good reason why he would object to me gaming or having a nice gaming setup in my own space in the house. There has to be more. There has to be more of a reason why this husband is so uptight about her dropping $5,000 on gaming, because that doesn't make any sense. Absolutely have enough money for it. He spends his money on designer shit. Like, to me, it's actually surprising that they wouldn't have more in their fund money account than $5,000. If I had to make a bold prediction, my bold prediction is that the husband doesn't like OP gaming for some reason. Like, in their head, that breaks the career-driven whatever. Or there might be some insecurity around, like, are you gonna talk to other dudes while you're gaming? Financial infidelity would imply that it's hurting the family, like gambling away rent money without telling anyone, I think. The only way that I could see the husband being in the right here is if OP is lying about their finances in some way. First update here, my husband finally calmed down enough to have a conversation with me. As many others who provided comments suggested, it wasn't really about the money, but a window into larger issues in our relationship. Essentially, my husband has been feeling increasingly increasingly unhappy with me for a while for the following reasons. In general, he feels that he's a lot more committed to his career development than I am to mine. It's true that although we currently have about the same income, the ceiling for his field, finance, is a lot higher than the one for mine, tech/software development. He's currently in an executive training program and I'm decidedly not. He's feeling resentful that he's having to work long hours in a high pressure environment while I get to work primarily at home doing something that is fun and fairly easy for me, and I'm not stretching myself to do more. He's concerned that over time these resentments are going to build and that I'm not going to end up pulling my weight financially if he takes huge leaps in his careers and I don't. All I'm hearing is the husband's a pussy. Oh, wee woo, I'm doing all these things to make more money and you're not doing it too. Hey man, have you tried growing a pair of balls? He remarked that since getting back into gaming a few months ago, I have been putting a bit less effort into cooking. I do nearly all the cooking because I work at home and have an easier schedule. It's true that I have been fixing simpler meals, things like grilled chicken salads or chili with cornbread, instead of elaborate meals with fussier foods and several sides. He has also noticed that I haven't been doing the elaborate table settings I used to with flowers on the table, fancy placemats, etc. Honestly, I didn't realize he noticed or cared about these, but apparently he does. Acts of service are one of his main love languages, so overall he's feeling a little neglected because of this. Oh, so your wife isn't the nuclear family wife that's pushing out babies and cooking you dinner? Once again, pussy. Yeah, I know you like actually enjoy gaming and it's your way to like escape and have fun, but I want you to cook me dinner instead. I value that, and clearly my things are more important than yours. He also feels I'm not putting enough effort into my appearance, not in terms of weight/body. I'm a long distance runner and slim, but in terms of things like clothes, hair, etc. It's true that I've never paid much attention to these things. Given that I work at home in tech, the standard for appearances is extremely low, and I far exceed that. I tend to buy simple, practical clothes at places like Target and Walmart and don't wear much makeup and keep my hair in a simple ponytail. I do glam up a lot more for date nights and other dressy occasions, but most days he comes home from work to find me in a t-shirt and yoga pants with no makeup, and he wants me to make more of an effort. All this is extremely entitled. The bottom line is that because of all these things, he's starting to notice other women. Says he hasn't cheated. He's just noticing other people because he's regularly disappointed in me. In particular, given that he works in finance, there are a good number of very career-oriented type A women who manage to have fantastic bodies, be effortlessly polished and glam, and have more interesting hobbies. He also says he feels horrible about all this because he knows I am a good person and that he's being judgmental. That it's not so much I've changed as that his own goals and expectations have changed in the past couple years. The financial infidelity part came into it because he feels I'm not really investing in myself and our relationship, thus cheating on our future in a sense. Yeah, babe. So like, I know I've been the one that have been looking at other women and like kind of cheating on you, but I just really feel like the real wrong here is that you're cheating on our future. Somebody get this motherfucker teaching gaslighting 101. Let me get this straight. You want a woman who is spending long hours, high pressure environment, and has quote unquote interesting hobbies, but still has time to cook you an amazing 4-course meal dinner every single night. Let's find a woman who is doing that in her career and coming home every single night and being like, I'm gonna make my husband dinner. There might be maybe one person in the world who does that. Bro doesn't want a woman, he wants an android. Des, that is the most fucking true thing ever. He also says he loves me enough to be honest. I do believe he isn't trying to be hurtful. I really had to drag all this out of him. That he doesn't want us to drift apart further. That he doesn't want to be angry and resentful, and he knows he is asking for a lot. I know that many on this sub might say I should just tell him to take a hike and call my lawyer, but we've been married for 10 years, have invested a lot in the relationship, and I want to see if the marriage can be saved. So a couple of things. First, we did make an appointment with a marriage counselor and start next week. Also, I'm going to try to do at least some of the above. I'm not sure about making myself be more professionally ambitious when I'm already happy with my work-life balance and we're already financially very comfortable, but I can at least try doing the other things, return to spending spending more time on cooking and decor and fixing myself up a bit when he's on his way home from work. Now that I know they are important to him, I also know that in the end, I may feel like I am just tiptoeing around and contorting myself to please him, but it won't cost me much. Certainly much less than a divorce. To try for a month or two and then see how we both feel. And I know I would always regret it if I didn't try. I respect that. Yes, I think the easy thing to do is divorce, and yes, I think that's where this is going. There is something admirable about OP being like, hey, I committed to this. We've been doing this for 10 years and we did the marriage thing. That's worth working for. I think OP should have checks and balances in terms of the cooking, decor, and fixing themselves up. I will try to improve this for you, but just know you aren't owed this. Because I love you, I'll try to make the effort to make it happen for you. But just know if there's a day where this doesn't happen, you just have to live with it. The way that I'm meeting you in the middle, you meet me in the middle. And hey, great that they're going to marriage counseling. I think they're going to be able to really work out if this marriage is going to work long term. This is the third update. The more I thought about it, the more his requests, demands really, were sitting poorly with me. I decided to try a little experiment over the weekend to see what would happen if I tried to meet some of his demands. Not because I actually thought they were reasonable, but because I increasingly had the sense the goalposts would just keep moving and that I was playing a losing game. So Saturday morning, I went to the salon for a glow up haircut, fresh highlights, mani-pedi, then went to the farmer's market to pick up fresh flowers for our table and assorted other gourmet ingredients. Saturday is usually our date night out, but I suggested we stay in so I could make us a special dinner. Steakhouse style, lobster bisque, bread basket with several types of rolls / savory muffins made from scratch, crab stuffed mushrooms, filet mignon, au gratin potatoes, I don't know if I said that right, white chocolate mousse topped with raspberries. I wore a lavender, his favorite color, on me, sheath, dress, and high heels, and fully done hair and makeup. For all of that, I got a lukewarm thanks, it was tasty, and a kiss on the cheek. Of course, I did all the serving and cleanup. Sunday, we usually go out, but he suggested I make us brunch at home. So I made French press coffee, mimosas with fresh squeezed orange juice, Belgian waffles with a bananas fostered topping, eggs scrambled with Parmesan and fresh herbs from our garden, roasted fingerling potatoes, and maple glazed bacon. I wore a blue sleeveless sundress, wedge sandals, again, did my hair and makeup. Again, I got a thanks, it's good, and no help with serving or cleanup. Bro, if a girl's doing this for me, I'm proposing on the spot. That's fucking crazy. Afterwards, I asked if this is what he had in mind when he critiqued me before. He said that it was a start, but that I was acting very entitled for wanting credit for basic adulting. It was a start. What's the finish? He then dropped a bomb that he was being so hard on me because he had realized lately I had a lot to make up for due to my being a low value woman. There it fucking is. Andrew Tate has done it again. He's made the weakest men in the world become entitled pussies. Anybody who says high value man or low value, I just want to fucking rip their dick off. Oh, he got tatered. If I ever heard my son talking to a woman like this, I have failed as a dad, and I am locking him in a basement and never letting him see the sunlight. CPS fucking take me. I'm doing the world a favor at this point. I asked what on earth he meant by that, and he said it was because I wasn't a virgin when we met. It's one thing if you're like a 13-year-old and you have this mindset. A 33-year-old man is saying this about his own wife. This makes me want to deep throat a Glock, knowing that there are 33-year-old men who think like this. Keep in mind, we started dating at 21. Neither of us claimed to be virgins or stated that as an expectation, except for very religious people. Neither of us is. I don't think most 21-year-old college students are virgins. I was upfront with him then that I'd had 2 previous partners, my high school boyfriend. We went our separate ways when we went to different colleges in different parts of the country. And another boyfriend I'd had my first year of college. And that's it. Both committed relationships and nothing casual. He then went on to say that because of my low value, I was going to need to be making it up to him for the rest of my life, that I didn't deserve monogamy or equal treatment, and that I was lucky that anyone at all wanted to marry me, and that he's connected with someone from work. So if I wanted to keep him, I'd better step up. The way I want to teach my daughter that if a man ever speaks to her in this way, I give her permission to go to jail. I will be there at her trial clapping, because what the actual fuck is this, bro? I told him it didn't sound like there was anything to keep if he no longer loved me or even liked or respected me. Told him to leave and said he would gladly go to his girlfriend's place. I know so many people here insisted he was having an affair, and I just didn't want to see it, that his complaints were really all part of a campaign to distance himself from me. I feel so foolish for just thinking he was going through a stressful time at work, or that he genuinely wanted to work on our marriage. Anyway, I have taken the week off from work to get my head together, have an appointment with a lawyer tomorrow. Canceled the marriage counseling appointment, but got a referral to an individual therapist who can do an intake session with me later in the week. He and the girlfriend apparently are coming this evening to get more of his clothes and things, so I have to brace myself for that. No way I would let that woman into my house. Also, please be assured I do not think I am low value in any way. I let my husband make me think less of myself on some levels for a short time, but now I truly see it was a him problem. Obviously, we don't share the same goals and values, and he has become someone I don't recognize. One last gem from the husband. I even said, so this person you connected with at work is actually a virgin? Well, she was, he said with a smirk. So, virgin or not, someone who would sleep with a married colleague is higher value than me, unless he lied about his marital status / situation, which I wouldn't put past him. Yes, he admitted he has been having an affair for several months. He kept trying to say that it doesn't really count as cheating because I'm low value, so the standards are different. So he was supposed to get his stuff on Tuesday evening a couple days ago, but told me at the last minute he couldn't because Amy, his girlfriend, wasn't feeling well. Some people called in the comments, but yes, she's pregnant apparently. He told me this on text, so I have proof of the affair in writing now. It's not just his word against mine. Anyway, I didn't want him to keep jerking me around on the schedule for whatever reason, so I told him I'd pack his stuff for him and arrange for movers. I think it's better that way. I really didn't want him / them in the house. I already had arranged for a friend to come over on Tuesday when he and Amy were supposed to come by, so the two of us spent the evening packing his clothes and other personal effects. The movers came yesterday and got the boxes and furniture items they wanted. He didn't want much, just the stuff from his home office and his dresser, and apparently Amy's apartment is small. I provided a detailed inventory and photos of everything, which he approved, so he can't say that I broke or otherwise ruined his stuff. Yesterday I went to the clinic to get STD tests. Won't have the results for a week or so, but thankfully I haven't got any symptoms, and met with my lawyer, who said I had a good case for grounds of adultery and mental cruelty if I want / need to go that route. At a minimum, it's leverage to get him to settle quickly and quietly. Also, lock down all the finances within the parameters provided by the lawyer so that he can't empty our joint funds or take anything that belongs to me. Changed account beneficiaries and all that fun stuff. Changed the locks to the house too. Those are the main updates for the moment. I'm doing better than expected, I think, and realizing more day to day that it really wasn't a good marriage, at least not for the last couple years when he started expecting me to do everything around the house and all the other emotional labor of running our lives outside of work with no help and little to no gratitude. Amy sure is going to have her hands full. Relevant comments: is he her superior at work? My understanding is that they are peers. He isn't her boss. I don't think it is against the rules for coworkers at the same level to date, at least not at some of our, well, his really, friends met at work there and it wasn't an issue. So for that reason, I think I'll stay out of it, especially as I do want him to stay gainfully employed until the divorce is completely final. Still, I agree it's awfully foolish to have an affair at work that results in a pregnancy while one of the people is still married. I mean, you can't hide that messiness. It's going to be physically obvious. How is a 24-year-old making the same amount of money as your ex? They are both in an executive training program for fairly recent MBA graduates. Amy is apparently some sort of prodigy who got hers at 21. My soon-to-be ex started out in supply chain management, then the company paid for his MBA, which he finished a couple of years ago. And after that, he moved to the finance side and was accepted into the training program. Another update. The good news is that we were able to come to an agreement pretty quickly and everything is now executed. Just waiting for the court date, which could take another couple months, but my lawyer says the agreement is airtight. It wasn't quite as favorable as most of you all lovely folks probably would have wanted for me, but I was highly motivated to get it done fast. I did get everything that really mattered to me. First, the house I inherited from my grandmother is 100% mine, along with all the furnishings and other effects in the house. My own retirement accounts and my fund money accounts are all mine as well. Otherwise, I did have to give him 75% of the other cash assets. Although he wasn't on the title for the house, he did contribute substantially to the large renovation we did, as well as to upkeep since then, and the house appreciated very substantially in the years since we moved in. It's fine, as I still have plenty of money, especially as I am quite frugal most of the time and can rebuild cash savings quickly. Our agreement also states that neither of us has a claim on each other's past, present, or future earnings. So in case something happens and he loses his job before the court date, I won't be liable for any alimony. This is actually overall a very good deal for me, and it gives me a lot of security. Now, for all the real dirt of this update, last weekend, shortly after all our papers were signed, Amy reached out to me. She asked if we could meet and talk. Perhaps I should have declined, but I will admit I was curious about the 24-year-old prodigy and until recently a virgin person who was Joe's affair partner. So I agreed to meet her for lunch. So the first thing is, Amy is very pregnant, like third trimester. She confirmed she is due in mid-October, which means the affair has been going on a whole lot longer than Joe let on. Whatever, it's water under the bridge as the divorce is almost final. However, after some polite but chilly pleasantries, she asked me, when am I going to be moving out of the house? Because surely Joe has been patient enough with giving me time to get my life together, and her apartment is small and they are needing space for the baby. What? I told her she must be mistaken, as the house is mine, inherited from my grandmother, but asked her, what else has Joe told her about me and our marriage? And lie after lie, Joe's lies that is, tumbled out of her mouth, along with the crumbs of the real story. These gems include, well, it was true that she and Joe met at work, but it was about a year ago when they were both interviewing for the executive training program they are in now. Amy said, though, that they first became friends before getting together romantically. Apparently, Joe told her that he was legally married, but that we had been separated in spirit and living separate lives since 2020. But that he didn't want to kick me out and make me homeless during the pandemic because I didn't make much money and we live in an HCOL. Joe told Amy that we met in our early 20s when he was mentoring me in a GED prep program. That I was a high school dropout who was struggling with addiction, and essentially that he rescued me, helped me get clean, tutored me for my GED, and had been supporting me since through gradually working on college classes. He told Amy I was working on prepping for an IT career and was currently making $45,000 as a help desk technician, and that he wanted to make sure I could at least afford a studio apartment. He also told Amy that he had separated because I had relapsed and he couldn't have a meaningful relationship with a drug addict. All this is lies. My entire history of drug use is occasionally sharing a joint in college, maybe 4 to 5 times total, never anything harder. It is true that Amy was a 24-year-old virgin prodigy. She seemed dismayed that Joe had told me that, though, at least the virgin part. Said it wasn't a moral issue. She was really just focused on school and work and didn't make time to date. And generally, guys her age seemed mostly interested in casual hookups, especially the younger finance bro types, and she wasn't interested in that. But that Joe took the time to get to know her and was actually interested in a meaningful relationship. I asked her if the pregnancy was planned. She said no, of course not, but it was a miracle because Joe had a vasectomy, so they took that as a sign they should keep the baby. No, Joe did not have a vasectomy. As we were planning to be a child-free couple, I suggested it a couple times over the years. He firmly stated he didn't want to alter his body like that, so he left birth control as my responsibility. So it really does seem that Amy is pretty blameless here. I mean, those of us who have been around the block would likely know not to believe a guy who claims to be separated, but is still legally married and living with his wife. But without her having any dating/relationship experience, I can see where she would have taken him at his word about everything. After all, I didn't know anything was amiss with Joe until a couple of months ago, and I was married to him. Nothing illegal happened, but this girl was definitely taken advantage of in a lot of different ways. Of course, Amy didn't want to believe me, and I don't blame her for that either. After all, she's been in a relationship with Joe for close to a year and is 7+ months pregnant with his baby, who is coming soon, ready or not. I couldn't immediately refute everything she said, but showed her a couple of things. First, a picture of me in my late teens with my grandmother in front of my house, and also my LinkedIn profile, which shows my current job and education. Told her to do what she wanted to with the info, to please stay safe and take care of herself, and then said my goodbyes. Yes, it was all very odd and unexpected and surreal. Relevant comments. Apparently, he convinced her that the reason he could never spend the nights with her during most of the past year before he moved in with her was that I tended to get high in the evenings, and he was always worried I would OD if he wasn't there to keep an eye on me. Next level of manipulation. Did you tell her he didn't really have a vasectomy? I did tell her, but her answer to that was to insist that he did have one. He had only gotten one because although he did want kids, he didn't want to bring them into the world with a drug addict spouse. The character development in his head that he's laid out to this woman is crazy. Newest update post, November 25th, 2023. The good news is I'm now divorced. The final decree came through a few weeks ago. It actually all went very smoothly. I'm eternally grateful to live in a mutual consent divorce state that allows for divorcing couples to proceed quickly if they can come to an agreement on finances and property. On the Joe and Amy front, after my last post, all was quiet for a couple weeks until Amy, her due date quickly approaching, reached out again to ask if I'd given any more thought to her offer to pay me $17,000 to vacate the house quickly so that she and Joe could move in. Again, this is the house I inherited that I own free and clear, but Joe told her he owns it and that he was just giving me time to get my finances together before evicting me. At this point, I decided to package up a lot more evidence of Joe's lies to send on to Amy. I sent her a copy of the deed and property tax records showing the house is in my name only. I sent her copies of my diplomas to prove I am not a high school dropout. I sent her some info on various professional associations I am involved in and awards I have won to show I actually do have a senior level job and am not underemployed, as well as proof of my income. I sent her copies of all my drug test results for the past 5 years. I have a drug-free workplace and have to test 2 to 3 times a year to show I am not an addict. I sent her time-stamped photos and text exchanges to show that Joe was still having a romantic relationship with me until July this year. Nothing salacious, just photos of us showing G-rated affection, exchanging loving words over text, etc. I even found a text exchange from a couple years ago when we had last discussed him potentially getting a vasectomy with his final decision not to proceed with one. A couple days later, she responded she believed me. However, in the end, it didn't matter as Joe convinced her he had lied for very good reasons. Jesus. The way they both tell the story, they met at work and were incredibly drawn to each other in a way that felt inevitable. However, due to Joe being married, he felt that if Amy knew he was, to that point, happily married, she would either turn away from him and miss out on the love of a lifetime, or she would go ahead with an affair but be consumed with guilt. So to avoid either of those outcomes, and especially to save Amy from guilt, Joe decided to create an alternative narrative in which he was in a marriage that ended for all intents and purposes years ago, in all ways but legally, because I was an uneducated addict who kept relapsing and couldn't get my life together. That was so she could essentially believe he was single. How noble of Joe to bear all guilt alone. Unfortunately, Amy said she understood and forgave him immediately. With a baby due any day, I suppose I can sort of understand the desire to justify the lies, even though the reality is horrifying. I suppose it's not my problem anymore. Amy did have her baby over a month ago, and I guess she and Joe will make whatever life together, or not, is meant to be. As for me, I'm doing very well. Actually got a big promotion at work, not managing people, which I don't want to do, but will be working on higher profile projects with a 40% raise. The house is really big for just me, so I have a couple of roommates now. A friend who is also going through a divorce moved in, as well as a younger, mid-20s, cousin who moved into the city for work. We're all having a lot of fun together. I'm not really ready to date yet, still in therapy processing all the marital fallout, but getting there and looking forward to whatever new adventures life has to offer.